So I'm going to do this meditation, but I'm going to narrate as I do it. And you can follow along and use the narration as a guide to do your own meditation. But keep in mind that I'll at least be attempting not just to guide a meditation, but to narrate my experience. And therefore, you can think of what I say as an attempt to articulate the meditation I'm doing. Huh? Have we restarted? Okay. Well, I'm going to do this meditation, and I was saying that I'm going to narrate as I do the meditation. And you can follow along and use the narration to guide your own meditation, as is the standard way with a guided meditation. But keep in mind that I will be trying to not just guide a meditation, but also narrate my own experience. And so I'm doing the meditation. I'm sharing the possible meditation target with you. And my words will attempt to guide you in the right direction, but you want to look beyond my words and try to see what it is I'm trying to narrate from the inside. I was just watching this video by Seeker to Seeker, which is like a chick tract for Buddhism, but very sophisticated and beautiful, both in what it presents and in the artifact of its existence. So we're going to start with asking, who are you? As I asked myself, as the monk does in his video. And it goes like this. Who are you? I'm a writer. No, that is your profession. So here, think your profession. Who are you? I think a writer. No, that is your profession. Whatever yours was. Who are you? I am my name. No, that is your name. Who are you? Well, I'm this human person here that has this name and this profession. No, that is your species. Who are you? Well, I'm this, sort of animal, but conscious thing. Some sort of animal spirit, maybe, is how it feels. That's called a human being and, has a name and a profession. But I am this, organism here. It says, no, the organism is an abstraction. That's not what's actually there. What's actually there? Who are you? Well, we call it an organism, but yeah, what I actually am is this sort of relationship of processes being instantiated in the material substrate and maybe other things going on up here mentally. No, processes themselves, Buddhism would continue to dissolve and say, who are you? And that's a wonderful meditation. But we're going to stop here at the processes. I am these processes going on, instantiated in the molecules and the cells, but ultimately creating this vast network of relationships that somehow change from moment to moment and day to day and year to year and decade to decade and lifetime to lifetime. I take a few breaths, breathing into wherever there's more space, inviting me to breathe into. Feeling the processes in the body and the breathing, and feeling the constrictions on the breath and letting those constrictions win. Letting them be tight for once and giving love. If you give love only to the stretch and not to the compress, then the more progress you make in the direction of stretching, the deeper the shadow in the opposite direction. So it's good to go from breaths that lean into where expansion can occur and expand even more, accepting that invitation. But it's also good when the compression and the heaviness is allowed to deepen the exhale and let the lungs get really empty within reason, comfortably, breathing whenever feels comfortable. But understanding that although we think in terms of wanting more and more lung capacity, what we also want is a smoothness of integration between the lung in different states of inflation. When it's at 100% inflated, we want good integration. And as we come down to 50%, to 20, to 10, to 5, staying comfortable. But as we come down, realizing that these, lower states are not the enemy. Just because the lungs don't have oxygen down here doesn't mean they're the enemy. They're an integral part of the process. You want to give love to the expansion that feels available and welcoming. And then yield and let what feels heavy, weighing down, serious. And loving both the expansion and the contraction. And developing the ability to comfortably and integratedly come into a deep exhale is an essential part of learning to be able to expand more effectively and increase effective lung capacity. And so, feeling again into the concept space of who you are. You're this process, this collection of processes that create this story of your life over time. You're this organism here, or this spirit within. Give love to these ideas, narrowing in on the concept. Who you are as processes. Who you are at your best. Accepting the compression as you breathe. And accepting the invitation to expand And now we're going to point in a different direction, the direction of the body processes that are ruining it. Smoothly. We don't need to pinball back and forth here, but smoothly start to drift in this direction. Keep breathing, stay comfortable. The body processes that, according to you, are ruining things. They're making things unhealthy, they're making things ugly, they're making things incapable, they're making things painful. However, they're not finding the right balance. And still giving love both to the expansion and the contraction. There's no need to worry about how accurate your concept of these body processes are. The point isn't whether or not the actual body processes in your material organism are or aren't contributing to health. The point is that your perception of them is a construct of your nervous system, of your mental processes. The thing that you feel down there that, according to you, is the bad body process. You feeling it, that sensation, is something your organism generates. So that's part of you. It's a sensation creating part of you. And you're thinking of it as these bad body processes. And it may well be pointing at actual bad ones. But if you want the actual bad ones to have better health, you need to be willing to feed energy and love to the ones, to the concepts that you think of as the bad body processes. So tuning more deeply again, comfortably drifting in this direction, continuing to breathe with love both on the welcoming, inviting expansion, wherever that is, up, down, around, anywhere, and giving a wind to the contraction, letting it do what it's been trying to do. Give love to it as well. Breathing and feeling the bad body processes according to you, and now giving love to them, accepting that your body can feel this way as you think about them, and feel the resistance to this. Feel the part that doesn't want to do it, and give love to it. We're going back the other way now. Give love to the resistance that doesn't want to do this. It has a good point to make. We're not overwhelming it here. It has an important point to make. That's why it's so stubborn in its resistance. And so give more and more love in that direction. And let the whole body participate. You might normally think of accessing this part of you by pointing in a certain direction, but now imagine every part of your body is pointing in that direction with you. And that part of your being is the conductor of the orchestra that you have chosen to guide. Continuing to breathe and moving with the heartbeat if that is something accessible to you. Or if you can comfortably hold the intention of doing it and lose to it in a sustained fashion. But now we're going back to the bad body processes, the ones that are, according to you, are ruining things, making you ugly. They're making you unhealthy. Giving love to all of these shapes, Understanding that even if you're right about the problems they're pointing at, your perception is still something generated in your body, and therefore you need to give it love, or else you're not giving love to part of your body. And if you don't provide love, which is basically like blood flow to these parts of your body, you're gonna be generally unhealthier. Feel the tightnesses. Don't want to be tight. Give love to that. Let them be tight. Let them be tighter than you usually let them be. Stay comfortable, but give voice to this impulse within you. And let the whole body aim at it, watching it like a conductor. And keep breathing, expanding into where there's a welcome embrace, a welcome invitation to expand. Compressing where there's a feeling of wanting to be compressed. And if a part doesn't want to be compressed, give voice to that resistance. Give voice to any resistance to all of this. Think for yourself about this process. What are all the best reasons to oppose? What are the flaws in it? Think of how to criticize. Give voice to all of this and give love to giving voice. Appreciate all the wisdom in this and learn from yourself. And take the resistance and even intensify it and make its case to a ridiculous extent. Until it's a willing participant in that social game where somebody gets to be on top and somebody gets to be on bottom, and it generates laughter. And if there's good nature behind it, then even being on the bottom still generates laughter, and that's the sort of source of free energy. To get to the point where you can poke a little fun at it. So, okay, you're going a little extreme here. Get your feet under you, get solid. Feel whatever surface you're taking for granted as perfectly solid, that you don't have to track. And now realize that your perception of this other, although it does point at a genuine other, the perception itself that you're experiencing as you think about it is generated within you by your nervous system. And so give love to this other as you, the perception of it at least being you, but Look at the actual perception of it then. Look at where, according to you, it is in reality. That's where you perceive it to be, not where you perceive it to be, where you actually perceive it to be, as if the reality really were real. That's where you perceive it to be. And give love to it and realize that that other, as you perceive it, is part of you. And love this posture and keep breathing. Expanding everywhere around the body, places you wouldn't normally think of as expanding because of breath, but that's just a conceptual landscape. Expand anywhere and everywhere. Can expand as you happen to be inhaling, even if it's just a coincidence. Expand into wherever it's welcome and easy. And feel the constraints on your breath. Feel the compressions that, according to you, hold back your lung capacity. And let them win. Give them the tightening they're asking for. When we work out, we have to go to the point of failure, of trying and failing. It's at that edge between what we can and can't do that we grow our ability to do more. That pattern applies when it comes to building lung capacity as well. So you have to go to failure in a certain sense. And the hard and rough and sometimes dangerous way to do that is to do like sprinting and intense things like that. Although there's a healthy way to do that if you know how. But the easy and the smooth way to do that is just to realize that everything you perceive yourself as winning over and it losing to you, your perception of the loser is generated in your system. And so it is by making part of yourself the loser in your organism that you're able to feel this wonderful winning energy. And that's perfectly valid. But if you can learn to lose so wholeheartedly that you can turn it into a victory, to submit so beautifully to the victor that you somehow generate grip back on them, even though they've theoretically defeated you at what you could call a grosser level versus a subtler level. So feel whatever is winning in your organism. All the body processes that you think of as the ones making everything good. You being correct and virtuous, and however good you can be, and deserving of love, and self-accepting, and everything that's winning. And really give voice to it and love it. And keep breathing, expanding everywhere around the body that expands when you can expand. Just see if you can on the inhale. Wherever it shows up is valid. It doesn't have to make sense according to where breathing happens in the model of the body. And compressing, letting anything compress down. You know, your hands and feet are partially compressing your lungs. That seems silly for something so distant to really be doing that, but that's not the point. Just the conception you have of them. Feel them being part of the compression process. Give them a win. Let them compress the lungs. And give love to this posture as well. Accept that this is a posture your body can take. This is an experience the universe can create. This is something you accept as part of existence. and you can love it. And you can give a lot of energy to it if you need to use a lot of energy to love it. But you can also begin to tone it down little by little. It's not a contest to tone it down as fast as possible. You want it to go smooth, a little by little, toning it down, and just giving a sort of quiet love. It doesn't have to be a whole fanfare and a drama. It doesn't have to prove itself. It's the love that no one ever sees and exists for its own sake and for the sake of those it loves. And keep breathing. See if you can expand more or if you can compress more. Both are good. Get a deep inhale in there. And let the exhale happen in places you don't normally think of as where exhales happen. Anything that can contribute to the gathering in and compressing in and becoming solid. Getting your feet out from under you. Feeling the ground that you're taking advantage of. Taking for granted, solid. Beginning to sit so that if sit or however you're doing it, if this makes sense for how you've been doing it, or if you want to adopt this posture, sit as if the chair might fall out from under you. And if that happened, you're so close, you're sitting so lightly that you can get up anyway. So you find the posture, like work on it. Keep breathing. Use a little chaotic breathing. Get some looseness down there. Warm it up a little bit. Let it talk to you. And try to get a more and more wholesome H on the inhale and exhale. Wholesome H. And find the place where you can be fearless, even if you imagine your surface falling out from under you, because you're prepared to take your full weight on. We might have to shift a bit to accomplish this, but get there. And find any resistance to this general stance and give it a voice. Let it tighten. Let it resist. Let it move you if it wants. See things from its perspective. If you can get to a point where you could promise to help it get what it wants, at least if you ever became capable of doing so. And now slowly again, nice and integrated, like drifting up and down branches and sub-branches of a tree, moving back to supporting yourself so that you could catch yourself if the surface under you were to fall. And feeling again that fearlessness. Doesn't matter if it falls. Breathing, letting the compression win, letting the expansion win, inviting the compression to do what it wants, inviting the expansion to expand where it wants, giving love to both of these body processes. Those that tighten get love, and those that give love get love. And those slowly start to rest more and more on the chair. Get as much rest as you can from it. And really let yourself collapse into it a little. And let that propagate through your body. Wholesome age breathing. Feeling the resistance to this posture, giving it its voice, giving love and energy and blood flow to it, and letting it tighten if it wants, letting it expand where you can as you breathe, expanding on the exhale as well. Feel where you can expand as you exhale, and go wherever you can. And on the inhale, continuing to expand wherever there's a welcome invitation that welcomes your expansion. Giving love to the shape, holding it steady and quiet. And allowing yourself to rest more in the chair, replanting your feet or your support, wherever it is, being ready to take on the weight if the surface falls away. But then slowly resting down into it and feeling the resistance to this, letting it warn you this is sort of dangerous in some sense. And give a voice to it, give love to it. Say, yeah, we're sitting in the chair, and like, feel any resistance to this rest, to accepting that you're treating the chair as solid and though as though it won't collapse, even though it theoretically could. Give love to the warning, give love to the anxiety or the negative reaction. Give it its fair day in court. Let it make a case for why it's important to keep track of these things because of how badly things will go if you don't. Give love to the shape. Let it teach you which parts of you need a little tightening up. Give love to the tightening. And now smoothly pull away from it. Imagine you're clenched around it, like clenched fists. You can actually clench your fists. Imagine you're holding it like rope in your hands. And you're holding it. You're trying to hold it steady. It could be pulling up, it could be getting pulled down to the sides. You're just trying to hold it right here. Imagine that's what you're doing. Move as if you needed to be able to hold it right where it is. Give love to this and accept the wisdom in being able to take on these sorts of sophisticated clenching shapes. Be happy how these grips allow us to reshape the world to be a better place to live in. And accept the cost that comes along with them, which is a certain amount of pain sometimes. No, it's not always worth it, and it feels awful when it's not. There are times when a little bit of pain and it comes out really well in the end, and it's just like, that was worth it. Give love to this shape, and give love to the opposite. Give love to the shape that doesn't clench at all. Give love to the clenching, and give love to the somewhat like fine with it, like down to clench, but also not that interested in clenching. Like it can go either way. The version of it that invites the clenching, that invites whatever is good about it, is willing to learn from it. That lets it tighten up things that you think you're not supposed to let tighten up. But give them a voice, give them blood flow. Let them do what they've been telling you they want to do. And also give love to wanting to relax them. And accept that you can give love to both of these. And accept that when you sit on a chair, and now take your feet slowly out from under you. Slowly again. Faster isn't better here. You want to let it get into the low frequencies. Emphasize that breathing again. Oh, let it get deep. And slowly start to let the grip of your feet supporting you fail you. Let it fall slowly away as you genuinely lean into the surface and rely on it. And accept that if it were to collapse, you would be okay. You'd be able to get through that. Give love to the anxiety and the resistance. Appreciate its warning. Accept the truth of it. Acknowledge the genuine risk here. Give love to the warning and augment its call. It doesn't have to be shut down and repressed. You can even exaggerate it. Invite it to become a welcome member of the group where we jab at each other and take an exaggerated version of it. Turn it up more and more, make extreme statements such as one might in the heat of the moment, and then start to poke a little light fun at them. No, you can go too far. Like, we're accepting and giving love to you, but when you go too far, we poke fun at you, and you take that in good faith. And you get energy from it too. You're willing to genuinely be on the receiving end of a joke like that and accept that, although on one level it's diminishing you, participating in this game will actually strengthen you in the long run. And becoming more efficacious and healthy in an absolute sense is more important to you and moving up or down in a relative sense, in a hierarchy. Giving love to the noble part of you that is willing to aim at what lifts everybody up all together, even if it puts you down. And if you could go down in a way that would genuinely lift people up, maybe it would be worth going down to do that. And giving love to this willingness to genuinely lose on one level, even though it's okay that it's easier because you know you're winning on another level. And remember that every victory you imagine over another is a victory you're having over the part of you that generates your perception of the other. And so giving love to the perspective of the other, the loser as well. And reveling in the victory of the victor and glorying in it without guilt. All the parts of the body processes you feel are noble and correct and good, or even required your responsibility, and giving love to the part of you that feels like you can do it all and be a good person. And that you care more about making things better wholesomely in an absolute sense for yourself, for your own organism, but then when you're centered and integrated and wholesome, trying to spread that out to your family, to your community, to your country, to the world. And accepting when you're not there and not thinking you're bad for not having the wherewithal to be helping the world right now, or your family right now, or even yourself as a narrative character right now. And you're at the level of just the body, the organism. Like, show love to the other, that is the part of your own organism that feels like another. And that is a love as important as the love we actually reach out to extend to other people and organisms. And now tuning in slowly, drifting gently toward all the resistance to the shape, all the resistance to valuing absolute gains over relative ones, all the desire for relative gains, even at the cost of absolute ones, the willingness to burn in pursuit of your personal relative gains in the hierarchy, even at the cost of your own absolute gains as a person, as an experience, as all these body processes. And drift in this direction, but remember the other one. Remember the love, remember the willingness. Remember the version of yourself that feels like the one that's up to being a good person. And now drifting toward the resistance and giving it a voice, giving love to it, watching it grow stronger and encouraging it to grow stronger, and giving love in the body, and knowing that no matter what you may think at any given point in time, it's always okay to give your organism love. Even if you have to love doing unloving things to yourself, as people feel they must do at times. There's always a version of love that is appropriate at any time, even though there's also a version of it that is inappropriate. And so while you don't want to blindly go with whatever version of love you can bring to bear when you're trying to love a moment and treating that like a foolproof guide, that's not it. But it is good to know that there is a version of love that would be appropriate And if the version you're using isn't working, isn't resolving the problem, then you need to look at it and say, there's truth in this and there is untruth in this. Let me lean into the best part of the truth in this and feel all that it has to teach. But now let me lean into the resistance and feel the untruth in it and give and be grateful for the voice that has called out the error. And whether or not you buy these mental operations, does this really make this an error? Is this concept real? That's not the point. The point is when you find the tensions in your body that come along with these thoughts and orientations and stances, you give love to them. You notice that you resist them. You notice that they're here because you chronically resist them. And you realize that the thing you're resisting is part of your own body. It's part of your own nervous system that generates this thought or feeling that when it comes up, you don't give it love. Well, give it love. Forget the logic or the language. Just be like, if there's a part of my body that's tense and doesn't have good blood flow, it's allowed to have good blood flow. I don't have to reason my way there. If I can do that, I want to give it good blood flow. That feels like giving it love. So I'm just going to send love to it. Send love to it. Oh. And now feel the resistance to sending love to it. And say, hey, no, you have a point as well. And stop resisting it just because it's spoiling the exercise. It's not spoiling the exercise. We wanted it to come up. Now find the resistance to this. Give it a voice. Encourage it to grow as it becomes stronger. And give love to it. And breathe. Expanding into wherever expansion is available, anywhere in your body or outside the body, in the world. Doesn't have to make sense. Anything that feels like it can expand, let it expand as you inhale and exhale. You can expand on the exhale as well. And now gently moving towards the compression, letting whatever wants to be heavy and solid and small and compressed, let it do it. And give love to it. Look for the light in it. Close your eyes and look for the light. Breathe and let your eyelids stretch but not open. Look for the light. Turn your eyes around. Look up, down, around. And now focus on compression and feeling the dark, feeling the blood flow come between your eyes and the light. And feel the good version of darkness. There's the bad version, but then there's the good version, like when you have plentiful blood flow. And the eyelids block out a good amount of light. And there's a sort of healthy darkness. And give love to it. And accept that your body can feel this way, can take on this shape. wholesome age breathing. And tightening up the breath with the intention of the opposite of the wholesome age. And giving love to it, giving a voice to it, encouraging it to expand wherever expansion is available, and letting everything else in the body, anything that wants to compress, let it compress. And accept love in the compression. And let what you call the bad body processes come to the forefront. And give love to them. You can imagine them as this other part of yourself that you mixed up with the real material thing they were pointing at that was bad. But you forgot that that material thing was being detected by a part of you that detected signals and turned those signals into a feeling you could respond to. And it was those signals coming from you that you were treating with rejection. And so you can imagine them as this other part of your own psyche, this other part of your own consciousness that you don't normally look at because you reject it. And you can feel all the reasons you might want to reject it and why it's a good idea to hold it at bay and give love to that resistance to it. Strengthen it, let it grow within you. And give love to the tightness that results, those signals that are parts of you saying tightness here. Give them love, accept that they're saying tightness, and believe them. Give love to them. Hold love and continue breathing. Hold love, expanding where you can expand with love. Expand with love on the exhale. Exhale, but expand with love. And inhale and expand with love. And now start to drift gently and slowly back in the opposite direction, like bouncing off the wall of a pool and stroking, feeling the resistance along the way, getting the friction like you're moving through water. Moving through water and holding yourself steady and responsive, making sure you've got a grip under you in case the water pushes you to one side or the other. And feeling all the water inside you, all the blood, all the liquid. Imagining it mixing through your skin with the water you're wading through. Half swimming, pushing with your calves as you walk, and half stroke like a swim stroke through the water. And now find the resistance to this. And let it go stronger. And let it spread like wildfire. You're not doing this. You're going the exact opposite direction, like a rocket. You don't know what you're going to find, and you don't know. You don't need to know where you're going because you're going away from something. You're going away from something you don't want. When you give love to this more chaotic, fiery shape that comes from augmenting the waves in the water, feel the water again. Let's start to breathe fire out from your core into the water. Imagine you're trying to heat up the water all around you. And feel all the cold getting the best of you, seeping into you. And realize that those signals of cold are part of you again. Give love to them. And keep breathing. Moving through the water. Trying to heat up the water, but also trying to move towards it. Imagine a target, any target, across. You're in a sphere of water and you cross the way. See any target, however dimly, a little light and glimmering. And move through the water and let the cold of it be what it is, accept that it's going to be cold. But that doesn't mean you can't warm it up. You're not resisting just because you're changing it. Begin to breathe, to heat up the dense, heavy, mud-like sphere you can barely swim through. Imagine moving through it towards that dim light. Holding yourself, feeling the grip that you can get with the mud. Letting your fingers and toes get a little grip as you half swim through the mud. Imagining that you can somehow breathe as you go through all of this. Feeling all the resistance to the idea that you can breathe. Giving it a voice. It's not pleasant to imagine being in mud like this. It feels suffocating even though I know I can breathe. So the suffocating feels like a resistance. So now take the side of the feeling suffocating and give it love. Stay comfortable. Go slow. Skip over this if you don't feel comfortable yet, but let the tightening, that fear and anxiety, let it win. Let it tighten when it wants to tighten. Give it love. Give love. Keep breathing and expanding. Expand into where there isn't easy expansion. Expand both into where it's easy and where it's not. Exhaling and inhaling. Just expand and expand and expand and expand. If any part of you feels like it should be contracting, just interpret that as meaning you're expanding. Like Arnold Schwarzenegger says, if somebody said impossible, all I heard was it's possible. Take that attitude, that is Schwarzenegger fire, and feel all the impossible about it. And interpret it as meaning You can do it. And feeling the compression, the tightness, the resistance, and letting it tighten. Slowly, slowly, go back to the previous step. And go back to the resistance. Get back and forth a few times. Expand and contract, expand and contract. Make it chaotic. And let the contraction flow through you. Flow freely. You're not afraid to contract. Anything that wants to contract can contract in the body. Even if that touches on the emotions and the thoughts. Ultimately, if a part of the body feels like it needs to tighten, that's okay. And you give it love and you give it blood flow. And you let it make its case and you accept it as part of the whole. And you even emphasize its message. Make it more extreme and more extreme. Give it more and more intention until it becomes ridiculous. Like, okay. You deserved a lot of attention, but like, let's push this until it goes too far. And then we'll laugh at you a little and you'll accept that that was a little too far. We'll all participate in a wholesome community. We'll be able to get easy energy from each other by genuinely good faith, friendly ribbing and competitions and joking, poking fun, making fun together. Being willing to be on the losing end of that. And being willing to be on the winning end of that. Beginning to march in the body. It feels like calling the body together into formation, into form. It's a simple behavior, just sort of with a sort of upright striving. That you're not just going and like hoping it won't be too difficult, like accepting that you're going to keep going as long as it's not too horrible. Just accepting that you're going to try. Like you would do if you had to really march. Like, think about it. It's crazy. It feels like it's a big deal and so harsh. But like, it was this reality for almost everybody back in the day. You just had to accept there was a pretty decent chance you were going to have to march to war. Just march. You're just moving. You don't want to be here. You don't necessarily know what's going on. You don't maybe believe in it. You don't want to go kill people. You don't want to go get hurt. And it's just like you're just marching now. You've accepted that the structures of the world have brought you to this place. And at some point, you don't just accept it. You learn to find great meaning in it and strengthen it. And there's that positive element to it that to some degree redeems the negative element of it. The marching, breathing, moving through the mud, imagining the distant target again, returning to the sphere, using the body and the breath. And imagining heating up the mud, heating it up and cleansing it with white, hot light from every part of your body. Heating up the mud and purifying it, making it clearer, bringing your target closer, Try to imagine visually, see the field becoming clearer as the mud clears away and the white light purifies. It's still murky in the distance, but it gets easier to move through the water. Return to wading. Imagine you're wading through the water, the body into a water-like communion, feeling the connection to the water around you, the lightness of it as air and space. Find where you don't feel the air around your body and feel the space instead. Continue to heat up the water and feel it become lighter and lighter as you move towards your target. And let it come clearly into focus as you realize that if you could really have what you really wanted, and we could deal with the resistances if we needed to, but we don't have to wait to deal with all of them before thinking this. So understanding with a good faith that these questions will be answered to some degree at some point, that these resistances can be integrated and so on. Tuning in without defensiveness to what would you really want if you could really have really anything. And giving love to this shape. Feeling the unloving parts of the body give love back to the loving parts. And giving love to the unloving. And swimming through the water and emerging and opening your eyes slowly. Feeling the resistance to opening your eyes and letting the intention to close them run free and lose to it freely, if that's what's easier. Or move in on it and pounce on it, if that's what's easier. But just point at it and let yourself move away or toward it, whichever happens when you just look at it. And tune into what's difficult about it. And instead of running away from what feels bad about it, stretch out toward it. Let it solidify in you. Accept that your perception of it is part of you. Think it through. Think the dialogue in thoughts. What does one part of you say about what you really, really want? And what does another part of you say? Neither one has to be right, but just what do you say? And finding the resistance, and giving it a voice, and loving it for all the good it does. And so let's stop waiting to integrate the next resistance and the next one and the next one and just say, where would I go if I had integrated all my resistances? Where would I be if I were already the integrated, forgiven version of myself that I'm pointing at and striving toward, but failing to actualize? and giving love to my desire to be more like this, but also giving love to pulling away from it, and to saying it's not real, it's not on the table. Give voice to that resistance. Keep breathing. Give love to it. And give love to whatever doesn't want to give love to it. Like, you don't have to give love to it. The part of you that doesn't want to do these things is like, give it the microphone. Strengthen it. Now quiet all the bodily processes, all the good ones that keep you together, all the bad ones that scare you. Letting all of them fade. Take care of themselves. Now feel the resistance to this. And do it on purpose rather than it happening to you. And strengthen it and give love to it. And let it tighten what needs to tighten. If you can, let the tightening spread across your body like electricity spreading through a body of water. Up and down, all around. And giving love to everything that wants to hold on to the bodily processes, all the good reasons, all the instincts, all the emotions, and give them love. And grip the whole thing on purpose. Not just that you're forced to do this, but fine, you do it, you embrace it, you choose it. You give love to it. You can let go. Think, what do you really want? And let go of language. And just feel and drift and navigate using some of the tightening and relaxing tools we've been using. Use the breath, use whatever. Bring the whole symphony of pieces into a coherent whole and start it with marching. Hear marching beat and march to your own beat. And accept that you're mobilizing for action. And you're coming to terms with the resistance, and you're going to bring your whole self to bear with whatever you can. Even if that means letting go of resistance. We've been giving a lot of love to resistance, but you don't always have to move between it. And its opposite, every few seconds, you can do longer frequencies, minutes, hours, etc. So for now, let go of all resistance and just drift into what would you really want. If you could really have it, what would you want right now? And just march. Let your whole body get into marching. Make it efficient. Do it like you were alone, like a kid walking through a forest who wasn't worried about how they looked walking. Now, this walk, however, feels right. Now begin to imagine when your feet hit the ground. Keep hearing the music. And the ground reacts. You can hear it reacting in the music. So do the music of the marching feet. And then the reacting floor. Just imagine it, or if you can sing it, that's perfect. Now imagine little sparks of change in the world coming from your marching. You're not just resigned to marching. You find fire in it. You find passion and inspiration in it. You have to. Otherwise, you couldn't march well enough. It's a matter of survival. You have to come to terms with whatever you're not happy about the situation, and take pride in your marching. imagine your footsteps piercing into the surface beneath your feet as they march. And now we bring in the air, and air is to lose so hard that you win by going where your opponent wants you to go, even farther than they want you to. So to take pride in your marching, you feel it changing the world, and you buy into that because even though it might look cringe to others, you just buy into the mission and the narrative. You're marching and it's making a change, and you believe in it. And then let it feel like something from outside of yourself rushes around you like the air. So we've gone from earth to water to fire to air. Fire is the passion, the cause. Now the air whirls around you like grace. And it helps you listen to the parts of yourself that accept that this marching shape is the right one to take right now. But they wish they didn't. They have resistance for one or more reasons. And march for them. March for the resistance within you to march it. And let it express itself in the march. Let it trudge or move with dismay or whatever it may be. And give love to this and feel the resistance to this. And give love to both. Back and forth. Smooth. Hmm. Yeah, so it seems like God is, among other things, the concept for like giving up a concept for giving up on the game of waiting to integrate all the potential objections before jumping the leap of faith. The idea is something like, here's one idea: if I detect a runaway transformative process in my mind, I'm generally going to want to stop and look at that carefully before allowing it to proceed. But if I could be somehow persuaded, yeah, think of it like viruses, right? You have computers without viruses. 99 viruses come and attack them, and every time you see something going around doing all this stuff, the correct response is to stop it, not allow it to proceed without examination, probably delete it. But imagine there was one virus, if you wanted to call it that, because the idea would be it would be a sort of beneficial, benevolent virus. It would be a shape that, if you allowed it to operate in a runaway fashion, would rapidly terraform everything for the better in a way you would agree with after the fact. Um, and in some sense, along the way, or some part of you already does, like in something like the correct way, I guess. And yeah, so part of the idea is you have to be persuaded that there's a pattern you're willing to follow as it goes through a runaway process in the mind. For the Buddhists, it's emptiness, I guess. But hmm, yeah, Huh. Huh. Oh, all right. Well, I think I'm going to go write something.